Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weeb Years, a questionably academic examination of the Western anime boom. My name is Beanie.
I'm Laurel.
And let's just jump right into it. Today, we are talking about Lupin III, Castle of Cagliostro.
Yes, I'd never heard of this before, actually.
Oh.
I'd heard of Lupin III, but not this movie in particular.
That's very surprising to me, actually. I figured this was one that kind of everyone knows about.
No, actually, I have a bunch of notes because I didn't realize that Miyazaki was working on it until after the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this really looks like Miyazaki. This really looks like Nausicaa.
You don't say.
I wonder, this must have inspired it. Well, a little more than that.
No, that's why I was surprised, because, you know, it has that Ghibli connection.
I don't know how I was so on top of Ghibli stuff, but never heard of this one. I think because it's not under the Ghibli studio.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier to overlook.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. Before we start talking about the actual movie, I wanted to cover the general Lupin franchise first, because there is a little bit of backstory that we can get into that helps go into the film itself, and also, this is really the only time we're going to get a chance to talk about Lupin III in general, so I kind of want to give it its due, aside from just talking about the film.
I mean, I'm not opposed to covering the anime later on, but I don't think we're going to do it anytime soon.
Oh, definitely not, yeah.
And there's other movies too, I think, right?
Oh, there's so many. I think there's at least 40, because they were doing them...
That doesn't seem right.
No, they were doing them once a year for, like, 25 years, I think.
Oh, so it was like Japan's slasher franchise, but not slashers, but like basically the same equivalent where they were pumping them out year after year in like the 70s and 80s.
They're like Pokemon movies. You gotta have them once a year.
I'm not going on a tangent. I'm so strong right now for not talking about Pokemon 2000. Fucking love Slowking.
Alright, I'm steering this train back on the track already. Lupin III. This is a very long-running franchise. This is definitely the oldest thing that we've covered so far. The original manga started publication all the way back in 1967.
I did read that it was from the 60s originally. Were there like Shonen Jump publications and stuff back then?
I'm pretty sure Shonen Jump existed all the way back then. I think Shonen Jump was in like the 50s, but this wasn't a Shonen Jump publication.
No, I'm trying to think of like, was it published like as a part of a publication like that? Because I don't think Lupin III is shonen. If anything, it's a little bit more like slapstick seinen.
Oh, it's very seinen, especially the manga. Compared to the anime, the manga gets a lot darker and much more, we'll say adult. For lack of a better term, it is very much seinen.
Oh, I have to read it at some point because I loved this movie. This movie was so full of heists and like, I don't know, it tickles the part of my brain that doesn't get tickled by like Western films usually. Like I've seen a lot of people comparing this to Indiana Jones. But I have a hard time, like, sitting and watching it, but, like, the art of this and the visuals and the colors, like, I could sit and watch this. I think I just need animated stuff.
You know what? I'm gonna jump ahead real quick just for this little tidbit. Many people believe, there's like a conspiracy theory, that Spielberg was inspired by this movie when he made Indiana Jones, because he has said that he was a fan of Castle of Cagliostro, and it came out a few years before he started working on the first Indiana Jones movie.
I did see that, and I saw some evidence on both sides of that, but it is interesting.
It's really neat, yeah.
It's crazy to me that this film was so big in the West, and I never heard of it.
So yeah, the original manga, it started back in 1967. It was created by a guy who goes by the pen name Monkey Punch. The first anime series began airing in 1971. It was produced by Kyokuchi Tokyo Movie, which is now known as TMS Entertainment, which they do so many things. Their library of works is obscenely long. The franchise has been this just like absolute staple of Japanese culture basically since its inception. It's had 8 different anime series, 11 animated films, 3 live-action films, 27 TV specials, multiple stage plays, much, much more. It is absolutely massive. Various licensors have brought parts of the series to the West over the decades to, we'll say, varying degrees of success. Funimation was the main license holder for a while, but now it's mainly held by Discotek Media, who have been releasing the series and specials on Blu-ray.
Discotek Media, what a name for a company.
They're very big right now as the people who are kind of rescuing lost titles.
Okay, that's really interesting. I don't know too much about what the landscape of the current anime licensing stuff is, because I fell off a little bit after maybe 2019.
It's not great. There's a lot of things that are completely just up in the air, and there's no legal way to watch them whatsoever. So, before, you said that you had never heard of this movie before, but you did know of the Lupin III franchise. What did you know going in?
I knew about the anime series. That's typically what I've heard people talk about, the one from, like, the late 70s. Because I believe that was airing around the same time as, like, Rose of Versailles. So a lot of people talked about both of them in the same kind of spaces, and I love Rose of Versailles.
Oh, interesting.
So I think, well, it's just they were airing in the same time period, you know?
Yeah.
And I think they're both, like, a little bit of historic fiction, because I think Lupin III, like, especially with Castle of Cagliostro, there's some stuff named after, like, real historic figures, but it's very fictionalized. So I think there's some overlap, too, in the communities. I'm not 100% sure, though.
That makes sense. And, you know, that's a decent segue into getting into our main cast real quick.
Hell yeah, segue! Call me Paul Blart.
I'm not gonna do that. No, because the thing that makes Lupin III such an endearing and long-running franchise and so famous and popular is its core cast. This is one of those things where even if you've never seen a single episode of the show, you've never seen a single one of the movies, you know these characters because they are so just pinnacles of the culture, I guess you could say. It's like, this feels a little reductive to say, but I've seen other people say it like this, and I can't think of a more creative way to say it. It's almost like Japanese Looney Tunes. Like, even if you've never seen a Looney Tunes short, you know who Bugs Bunny is, you know who Donald Duck is. Donald Duck is not Looney Tunes. You know what I mean.
I think that makes sense, though, because I feel like I've seen a lot of references to Lupin III and other stuff, because I feel like I've seen a couple episodes of Gintama, and he's been in those, and I feel like I've seen, like, especially in, like, comedy and parody anime.
Yeah, Lupin III is a big point of parody. That feels weird. That was a weird phrase. I don't know what I was saying there. But yeah, so of the main cast, obviously, first off, you have the titular Lupin III, who is intended to be the grandson of Arsène Lupin from the classic French novels written by Maurice Leblanc.
I fucking love that. I didn't know about that until I was researching after watching the movie. And that's so cool. That's so creative. It's so much more interesting than, like, they could have gone for Sherlock Holmes.
That being said, though, the idea that Sherlock Holmes's great-great-grandson would become a thief and a criminal is kind of funny.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I lamented the Looney Tunes comparison earlier, but the best way to describe Lupin's character really kind of is, what if Bugs Bunny was a thief? He's just kind of an endearing little shithead.
I think he's more endearing than Bugs Bunny, personally. I think Lupin is just... I find him so charming. He's so adorable and so... He's very chivalrous, but not in a way that feels gross.
See, you're saying that because you've only seen Castle of Cagliostro Lupin.
Okay.
Regular series Lupin. So this was going to be a future topic, but we'll go ahead and cover it real quick now because it's fitting in. Castle of Cagliostro, while incredibly popular, incredibly famous, and most fans of Lupin will agree that Castle of Cagliostro is kind of the best jumping on point for new viewers. Notoriously, the characters of this film are very different from the characters of the main series. Mainly just in the form of Lupin, who is much more of a good guy in this. In the rest of the show, depending on which series or version you're watching, he is questionable levels of morality, to put it nicely.
I mean, I don't think the crime would really put me off.
Oh, I'm talking more about him being a little sex pest.
Oh, that makes sense, because they do reference him being a sex pest in the film.
A little bit, yeah. His sex pestness is decidedly toned down in this movie, which was something that Miyazaki did intentionally.
Yeah, broader audience. Makes complete sense for this work.
Moving on from questionable levels of sex pest, you have wonderful tired boy Jigen. He's more serious and level-headed than Lupin, but he's still very goofy in his own way. They have this wonderful little, like, bro-ship that they got going on. They're a great pair, especially in this.
They're very emotionally intimate. They seem very familiar with one another and very comfortable around one another, that I feel like in a way that we don't see male characters be often.
The dynamic between Lupin and Jigen is such an endearing part of the franchise, and it really shines through in this movie especially. Like, the opening scene of the movie, you immediately get a wonderful feel for their dynamic and their friendship, and it catches you instantly. It's super endearing. I doubt you're going to be at all surprised to know that they are the most popular ship.
Well, yeah. They're like an old married couple.
They are, and it's so fun. I love them so much. The structure of their dynamic changes sometimes depending on what version of the series you're watching. They're always very close and friends and work as a team. It's mainly more of like, what level of straight man is Jigen playing compared to Lupin?
Oh, okay. So Lupin's like always like the kind of wacky, zany cuckoo cloudlander.
He also gets varying levels of wackiness depending on which version you're watching. We'll get into the specifics of that here in a minute after we cover all the different characters. But it's always a question of how goofy is Lupin and then how straight man is Jigen, basically.
Okay, aside here, is it canonically pronounced Lupin?
So
Lupin? Am I pronouncing it wrong?
I honestly am not sure what is the quote-unquote correct version. I think depending on which dub or which studio or any of that, it can kind of go back and forth. I mostly hear people say Lupin, so I say Lupin. I think you could say Lupin, and no one would really be upset with you about it.
Okay, because I was saying Lupin because that's how we would pronounce that in English as a name, like the flower.
I think it's Lupin in the French.
Lupin.
Lupin. Lupin Sansei is the, how you say the Japanese title.
Lupin.
Next up in the main recurring cast, you have Goemon, who's the cool samurai sword boy. He is intended to be the 13th generation descendant of Ishikawa Goemon, a real historical samurai who was basically Robin Hood, but a real dude.
I think this also may have been where, when I was saying this is a little bit historic fiction, this kind of dips into historic fiction as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He's related to a historic figure.
Yeah.
That being said, Goemon feels so weird among the rest of the cast to me.
Goemon has this issue where... So, okay, I have not seen an insane amount of Lupin III stuff outside of this film. I did, for research, end up watching, like, a handful of random episodes from a bunch of the different series after I got done watching the movie. And in this movie especially, and from what I've heard about other films and specials in the Lupin franchise, he very often just kind of shows up in the halfway point just kind of because he has to. Sort of like a Team Rocket in a Pokemon movie type thing. Even if he's not going to do anything, you need him there because he's part of the main cast.
It just is totally so weird that there's like a thief and then there's like an honorable kind of samurai kind of guy, but it does make more sense with the context that he is descended from a figure who's kind of considered like a Robin Hood, because that would be more thief adjacent.
Yeah. It's also just a fun dynamic of your main trio being a thief, a cowboy, essentially, and a samurai. Like, that's just a fun visual.
It is. It feels very... I don't know, something about the thief and the cowboy feel like they work together, but the inclusion of, like, a traditional samurai in traditional samurai garb feels very, like, sticking out like a sore thumb to me.
That is definitely an intentional gag, him sticking out like that. That is absolutely the point.
Okay.
Also, I didn't see it. I didn't watch any of the episodes from this period of things, but apparently Jigen actually started out as one of Lupin's marks. Like, he was trying to steal Jigen's sword, which, yeah, it's not covered in this movie. Jigen's sword is apparently made out of a fucking meteorite and can cut through, like, a car. It can cut through anything. And
What?
It started out where Lupin was trying to steal the sword from him, and they started out as enemies, and then I guess eventually became friends. I guess Jigen is the Shadow the Hedgehog of the Lupin universe.
Classic enemies to lovers.
He's gonna have to get through Jigen first. Now that gets through the main trio, but we also need to talk about Fujiko, who is the traditional femme fatale, sometimes ally, sometimes enemy to Lupin. They have a very fun dynamic where at the start of an episode, you never really know which side she's playing. Sometimes she'll be on Lupin's side, but then just as many times it turns out that she was going to double cross him at the end. It's very entertaining.
She as a character, Fujiko as a character, is specifically what made me want to watch more, because I love the dynamic that she seems to have with Lupin, and I love that she does, like, disguise shit. Oh, and she's hot?
I have some bad news for you.
Oh no!
Castle of Cagliostro, Jigen, and Goemon, basically the same. Lupin, way more chivalrous and objective good guy than in the main series. Fujiko, in the main series, at least from what I saw, her main role is to just look hot and get kidnapped and almost sexually assaulted a lot.
No!
Especially in the first series. It's a lot of her being put into weird bondage situations. She's also never blonde. I don't know why she was blonde in this movie. She's always a brunette and everything else. I don't know why she was blonde.
Maybe because they were in Europe, and I know that in Japan there's a lot of, like, associations of blondness with Europe and the US.
She was actively disguising herself, so that might have been the point, yeah. But it's weird, because, like, when you first get introduced to her, like, okay, I knew it was Fujiko, because I've seen this movie before, and I know of the franchise, and I knew who it was. I wonder if, when you're first introduced to her, you're supposed to know if it's Fujiko right off the bat, or if it's meant to be a reveal later on in the movie when Lupin meets her for the first time and is like, hey, Fujiko, what are you doing here?
I knew something was up with her because of how she was kind of introduced and that it showed her doing things in the castle, but I didn't have the context of who she was, so I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. I just wonder if returning audiences were supposed to immediately be like, oh my god, it's Fujiko, yay!
I don't know. The idea of a consistent character who shows up in different disguises throughout a series is really fun.
Oh yeah. So that covers the main four of the, good guys is not the right word to use, but the protagonists. The last person we need to talk about is Inspector Zenigata, who is arguably just as iconic as Lupin. He is an Interpol police officer who has just made it his life's mission to catch Lupin, chase him across the world. Apparently Monkey Punch has gone on record as saying that he intentionally tried to make it a very, like, Tom and Jerry dynamic, which is super fun.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah.
He is also in fiction supposed to be descended from Zenigata Heiji, a popular police officer character from a series of Japanese novels from the 1930s.
Oh, interesting.
It's so weird to me, this is a bit of a tangent, but it's so weird to me that in this main cast of 5, only 3 of them are intended to be descendants from popular characters. Like, either do one or do them all. It's weird to me that Jigen and Fujiko just have no weird ancestry thing going on when the others do.
I think it makes sense, though, because I think as many figureheads as there were also civilians.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just a weird way to write your story. Like, come on, Jigen so could have been descended from Billy the Kid or some shit.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, if you're making protagonists that are this iconic, I can see where you're coming from, for sure.
I don't know why, but I love the way you said the word protagonists.
Protagonists.
Protagonist. Protagonist.
I think Zenigata is one where I saw him and immediately was like, oh, this is what all of those shows were referencing.
Yes. Zenigata. Honestly, I think Zenigata is more popular to, like, Lupin is more iconic by himself. I think Zenigata is more popular to reference.
I think so too, and I think he really created an archetype. Because the whole time I was just thinking of, like, Japanese portrayals of cops. Like, Ace Attorney comes to mind. He's kind of a bit more of a bumbling fool, but he's got, like, the same kind of, like, personality as Zenigata. What's his name?
I have not played Ace Attorney, so I can't tell you, unfortunately.
It's been a long time. I played it in high school. Someone's gonna kick my ass. Dick Gumshoe. I think that's his name, Dick Gumshoe.
That sounds about right for Ace Attorney. The one that I always think of when I think of characters that make me think of Zenigata, I said think too many times on that, I'm gonna start again. The one that always comes to mind for me is Looker from Pokemon.
Oh, you're so right! Oh my god! Oh my god!
I just blew your fucking mind.
You just blew my fucking mind. Everything makes sense now.
Now that covers the main cast, but something else I want to cover real quick before we start talking about the actual movie is Lupin's jacket colors, because that is actually a shockingly important part of the Lupin III franchise.
Oh, really?
So there have been a number of different Lupin series throughout the years. I think they're up to 6 now, and they all kind of have different vibes, different takes on the character, and the way that fans will categorize these different takes is by what color of jacket Lupin is wearing in each of these series. First series is the Green Jacket era, which is a bit more grounded and serious than the other versions with some darker plot lines. This is where I saw the most Fujiko sexual assault, was in the Green Jacket episodes that I watched.
Yeah, that tracks. I feel like that was even more common in like the late 20th century than it is now.
Oh yeah, it was the 70s. There was a lot of unpleasantness to female characters.
Like, even in the Western world, look at all of the horror in the 80s. And all of the exploitative films.
Yeah. Anyway, Red Jacket.
Which one does he have in this movie, sorry?
So he has a green jacket in this one, but it is definitely not the typical green jacket vibe.
Okay. It's just from the same time period.
Yeah. Now, part 2 is where you get Red Jacket Lupin, which is arguably the most iconic of them all. It's where the most popular episodes come from. It's the longest running of the series. I think it had like 155 episodes, which is leagues above any of the others. Red Jacket Lupin is probably the one that you would want to check out if you want to look at any of the other stuff, because it's a lot more wacky and lighthearted.
I mean, I enjoy some good thriller content. I might give the first one a shot. One thing that makes me a little bit more open to it is that I'm pretty sure Fujiko is supposed to be an adult, unlike, what's her name from Samurai Champloo?
Oh yeah, fucking Fu.
Yeah, she was like 15 and being put into situation after situation. Fujiko, I might have a little bit more tolerance for if she's putting herself in dangerous situations as an adult and getting into trouble, but I'll have to watch the series before I can report back and really give my 2 cents.
It kind of depends on how you see it, because on the one hand, Fu was being put into sexual danger as a minor, but her instances of that were at least not really sexualized. Fujiko's sexual danger is very intended to be horny. Like, there is full nipple.
I mean, again, I don't really see it as... She's an adult, and I don't see it as too different from, like, Western exploitative films.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
As much as I complained about Fu, I still loved Samurai Champloo and was glad I watched it.
Now, part 3 is the Pink Jacket era, and this is the most polarizing one, for sure, because, like, it was kind of normal for a while. In fact, I think it was, like, the most grounded and normal that the show got. And then halfway through, they just do this hard cut into Looney Tunes level insanity. Like, the gags, the animation, it all goes fucking bonkers. The opening changes and is super goofy. It's very strange.
That's fascinating. I want to watch that one now just because that sounds absolutely like a 100% tone shift reversal. What?
I watched an episode from like the first half and the second half. It looks like a different fucking show.
That's so weird.
And then finally you have parts 4, 5, and I think part 6, which is now being called the Blue Jacket era. This one started in, I think part 4 came out in like 2015. So like the series had been done for a while, but they were still doing like the yearly specials and movies and such like that. 2015, the show came back, we got the Blue Jacket, and this is apparently it's like a mixture of all the most successful aspects of previous versions. It's kind of just Lupin distilled.
They've learned from their mistakes, supposedly.
Something like that.
Allegedly.
The animation is also gorgeous. Like, if you look up a compilation of, like, the Lupin opening theme songs and such, you get to the jump to 2015 Blue Jacket era. Oh, it's so pretty.
Oh, this fucks. Oh my god. I want to watch this one. Oh, the animation. Oh my god. I fucking love the music, too.
The Lupin theme song is so iconic.
It does look like he has the same car in this one as he has in Castle of Cagliostro.
Yeah, the Lupin car is interesting. I think it was Castle of Cagliostro that introduced this one that is just become like the Lupin car. Before that, he was driving a very different car, which was apparently Hitler's car.
Oh, that's what that was talking about. I was trying to find information on that when I was looking through the Wikipedia page, but when I hovered over it, just showed me the Wikipedia page for Hitler, and I was like, that's not what I was wondering about, Wikipedia.
I don't know if it's like literally like he stole the historical Hitler's car, or if it's just the same model and he's just drives
more interesting, actually. I would be okay with it if it was the actual historical figures car that he stole from a fucking museum. That rules.
Nazis show up a weird amount in the Lupin series. Like that most recent, the 3D movie, Nazis play an integral part to the plot. It's very Indiana Jones.
That's interesting, but I guess it makes sense.
I guess Indiana Jones is very Lupin, technically.
Yeah.
Okay, so that covers the franchise generally. That's a nice little taster of, this is Lupin III. Now we can get into the actual movie and point of the podcast.
Yay! The stuff I could actually talk about.
Yay! So, Castle of Cagliostro. This was released in 1979, and it was the second Lupin III film after the previous year's The Mystery of Mamo. It was the theatrical directorial debut of Hayao Miyazaki, who had also directed episodes of the series beforehand, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
I think he mainly had a hand in Series 2, but I might be wrong about that. It might have been more Series 1.
I hear that about a lot of anime directors, though, that they start as, like, episode directors on series, and then they'll move into being, like, a director for a whole project.
That's usually how you get your foot in the door, so to speak. Mm-hmm. The film had a slightly troubled production, apparently, with animation starting before the storyboards were even complete, and a lot of scenes had to be cut to reduce the runtime.
Oh, that sounds like the anime industry, doesn't it?
More so today, for sure, yeah. We did already kind of cover this, but Miyazaki did change a lot about the characters and the tone of the series to make it more appealing both to wider audiences and to his own sensibilities, which he fully admits to, which, I mean, it worked. It definitely worked.
I mean, it definitely softens the character and a lot of the themes and makes them more accessible, which I think really pays off in the case of Castle of Cagliostro.
You went and you made one of the most successful and iconic anime films of all time. Do what you want, I guess.
Yeah, if your idea of doing self-indulgent stuff is making characters less sex pesty, I think that's okay.
No, yeah, it definitely seems like it was the right move. Now, the movie has seen 2 different English dubs, one by Streamline Pictures in 1991, and another by Manga Entertainment in 2000. We had to watch the sub for reasons we'll get into near the end of the podcast, but know that going in, we've watched the subtitled version. An amusing thing to note is that the Streamline dub had to change Lupin's name to Wolf because the LeBlanc estate still held the trademark to the Lupin name.
That's insane, though. That's like a given name. It's crazy to me that you can just trademark a last name. That doesn't feel like something you should just be able to do if real people have the last name.
If we get into the eccentricities of trademark law, we're going to be here for hours.
For real.
Getting into the plot of the movie itself, it opens with Lupin and Jigen fleeing a casino that they've just robbed, and immediately the whimsy of the whole thing wins you over, because they're driving out with, like, the car is literally stuffed with money, like you just see their heads poking out of this cloud of cash as they drive away. They start to get chased by the casino guards, and you see that they preemptively dismantled the cars, but like one of them is cut in half, the tires are exploding off. It's very silly. It's super fun.
It's really fun. And I thought, too, it's such a great introspection into their character because it's showing you that this is all calculated. This is all stuff where they took a number of steps to ensure that they would be successful. And there is more going on behind the scenes than just whimsical Looney Tunes action. Like, it's all very coordinated.
I think this is one of the main reasons why people will say that this is a good introduction to the franchise, even if it is tonally very different, because the movie does something I always really appreciate, where every time a new character is introduced, their introductory scene really tells you everything that you need to know about the character without having to, like, say it out loud. You know, like, right away, you get a perfect feel for who Lupin and Jigen are, what their dynamic is, what they are capable of. It's really well done, and I think it does that for all of the main cast as they're introduced through the movie, so I can see why people say, like, hey, if you want to get into Lupin III, check this movie out.
It does a really good job at making their personalities and their characters very easily accessible in a very short period of time. It's very effective in what it does. I do also have a note about how just visually stunning that opening scene is, because I was blown away. I was not expecting this to look like it did because I didn't know really the context for it. What was blowing my mind is that in that casino scene, all of the bills are hand-drawn, and there's so many of them.
This movie is absolutely beautiful. Like, sure, there are things that came out later that look better, especially like Miyazaki joints, but God, you can see so much of Miyazaki in this movie, both in like the way he frames certain things, the background, certain character designs. Like the main antagonist of this movie, the Count, looks almost exactly like a character that shows up in Nausicaa later on. There's this old man with a dog, and that is just a Miyazaki-ass old man.
I love how Miyazaki has old men and old women, and they're both very much archetypes, but they're very different. Because the old women are like the lady from Spirited Away who runs the hotel.
Yeah.
They're all like old hags, and then the old men are just like scruggly little dudes.
Got the mustaches that are the size of their own face.
Yeah.
This movie is so fun just on an academic level of if you want to see the early days of Miyazaki.
For sure.
As Lupin and Jigen are driving away and they're celebrating their grand heist, Lupin realizes, oh shit, this is all counterfeit bills. It's very good counterfeit bills. And I think, what does he call it? Like shadow bills? Or
They're
something
called
like
Gothic
that?
bills.
Gothic bills, yes. Very, like, famous in the crime world over of being the best counterfeit bills that have ever counterfeit billed. And that leads them to the Grand Duchy of Cagliostro, which is the secret hidden source of all this counterfeit money. They go to investigate it.
It's interesting, and I always wondered, like, what were they so mad about their last heist just not being profitable? Like, what drove them to go and seek out the people creating these bills? Because they very much could have just been like, okay, well, this was a bust heist, let's get into our next one.
Alternatively, hey, it's counterfeit bills, but it's apparently the best counterfeit bills in the world. You probably still could have used them.
Yeah, that, and also, like, they're literally going, like, halfway across the world to investigate this.
I do think part of it comes down to stuff we learn later, where it turns out that Lupin has a history with the whole counterfeit bill thing in Cagliostro, so I think that's mainly just him being like, maybe it's time to finally put a cap on this part of my life, you know?
It's very, like, clean writing. Like, you get the feeling that there's more to this, because it's kind of a crazy decision to just go and make and decide to go and investigate the people making these bills. Because he really didn't have to. He could have spent them, like you said.
Yeah. But also, this is also very much a Lupin thing, is just finding any excuse to travel around the world and get up to hijinks.
That's fair.
Now, shortly after they arrive in Cagliostro, the plot kicks off when they see a young girl being chased by a bunch of thugs, and they go to save her, which also leads to one of the most beautiful car chases you've ever seen. It is absolutely the most iconic part of this entire film, is this car chase scene.
I would watch a whole film of that car chase scene.
It's frenetic, it's got great energy.
It's really, like, cartoony, but in the best way. Like, it feels like I wrote down, like, they're driving with Mario Kart logic. Because they drive up, like, onto the walls of the cliff sides.
I love the part when Jigen tries to shoot out the tires of the thugs and just bounce off, and he's like, well, that's not normal.
I forgot about that part.
Eventually, Lupin and Jigen are able to save her from the thugs, but things kind of go awry. She's eventually caught again, but in the process of being saved, she leaves this little ring with Lupin, which has an emblem of like a... What's the constellation that's got the goat fish?
Oh, Capricorn.
Capricorn, yeah, it's got a insignia of like a Capricorn on it.
I remember that happens because they save her, and then she's talking to Lupin, and you get to kind of see them having a back and forth conversation, and you kind of see that he recognizes her in that moment.
Yes, especially after he gets the ring, he's like, oh, I know who this is.
And then Lupin passes out, and she goes, I think, swimming, and that's where she gets caught by the boat.
She runs off along the coast side and gets caught, yeah. Eventually, come to find out that is the Princess of Cagliostro, and she is soon to be wed to the Count of Cagliostro. The whole town, the whole country is celebrating the event, and Lupin decides, hey, there's some fishy shit going on, we need to investigate.
I feel like I should also clarify, because when I was watching it, I had to look this up. I was like, did they just make up a country for this? They just made up a country for this. It's like that classic,
they super made a country for it.
It's that classic, like, Japanese narrative making up a foreign European country that doesn't exist but sounds believable enough. There's, like, a whole trope of that, isn't there? Because I know that happens in, like, Danganronpa as well.
That happens a lot in Marvel Comics, too. Marvel Comics
Really?
and DC Comics both have a lot of fake, small European nations.
Interesting. I only know of, like, the Japanese stuff that has it, so that's interesting that it's so prolific in the Western world, too.
Here's a fun Power Rangers reference for all three of the listeners that'll actually get it. The tiny European nation of Xandar.
My wife would get that.
So word gets back to the Count that Lupin and Jigen tried to save Clarice. That was her name, by the way. I don't think we actually said that her name was Clarice. But the word gets back to the Count that they tried to save her, and he says, hey, okay, time to assassinate these bitches. Later that night, assassination attempt happens and fails. The assassins, again, Power Rangers reference, but they really feel like weird Power Rangers mooks with their, like...
Oh my god, yeah. They have, like, fucking, like, Freddy Krueger claws, too.
Yeah, they're weird little wiggly knife fingers. It's a very cool fight, the assassination attempt. I forget exactly how it resolves, but our heroes do obviously get away. And another just wonderful character moment for Lupin when the head assassin / butler goes back to the Count, and he's got like a kick me sign taped to his back, and it's a note from Lupin being like, what's up, bitch? I'm coming to steal your girl.
I'm pretty sure that the way he gets out of it is he disguises himself as the detective.
That's later in the movie. That's not this.
Oh, that's not the first time? When do they show up first?
This is when they come to do the assassination attempt while they're like staying at the inn.
I don't remember this part, but I probably just don't remember it. I don't remember the inn.
That's when they were eating spaghetti and Lupin hits on the waitress.
Oh yeah, the spaghetti! Okay, yeah. And the waitress is giving them a bunch of exposition.
Yeah, that's where they learn about the marriage between Clarice and the Count. I think at this point is also when we get introduced to Fujiko, who has been working undercover in the castle for a while, acting as Clarice's assistant, I guess. Maid. Not maid. I think the proper term is lady-in-waiting, which I think just is a fancy way of saying assistant.
I think ladies-in-waiting, if their lady dies, then they receive the title. I think that's how that works. And that's why they're waiting. They're waiting for the person to die. I don't think that's why it's called that.
I don't think that's right, no.
You come here for more wrong facts about history.
I also want to mention real quick another great Miyazaki moment, because we see that the Count has this absolutely goofy flying machine. Always gotta have a Miyazaki flying contraption. Lovely to see it.
Oh, the weird helicopter. It's like a helicopter, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the proper term is an autogyro, but it's basically just a very silly helicopter, yes.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if there's some sort of historical significance there.
Yeah. Now, in his plan to infiltrate the castle, Lupin calls two people. He calls Goemon, who's basically just there to be Goemon and round off the cast list. They straight up just use him as a lookout for most of the movie, which is really funny to me. And he also calls Zenigata to, I guess, act as a distraction?
Yeah, but I think that the reason that he loops him in is because Interpol is already investigating, because they touch on that. They say that Interpol is getting involved, so I think Lupin is thinking one step ahead and is realizing, oh, if Interpol is involved, and then Zenigata will find out regardless.
If they're gonna be involved, they're gonna be involved in my terms.
Oh, we also get a bunch of shots of the castle at this point, and the painting of the castle, like, just as it is, and all of the exterior scenes is just fucking gorgeous, and I could not get over it.
Castle and the grounds around it.
Just the architecture, the level of detail. I think I even made a note like, I can't wait to see this castle get destroyed. Because it's so beautiful, but if it gets destroyed, it's going to be absolutely beautiful.
I think it is noteworthy that this is the first thing that we're doing for the show that was cell animated.
Is it?
Yeah. Everything else was digital.
Really? I thought stuff was still on cells into the 2000s. Like
some
early
things
2000s.
were, but nothing that we've covered.
Oh, okay. So this is the scene where there's the bait and switch, where Lupin...
Yes. Yeah.
Where Lupin goes up, he's dressed as Zenigata, and he says, "Quick, let me in!" Lupin's here dressed as me, trying to impersonate me. And they let him in, and then Zenigata is not allowed in, and they all go after him. Which is, it's so heist. It's so deliciously bait and switch.
It's so silly. It's really fun with like the trapdoor and everything.
Yeah, oh my god, the trapdoor.
It's so fun. It's so silly. Like the scene where it's a fucking like trapdoor hallway. Like if you open the door without turning off the security, you just fall through, and there's a statue that takes your picture like it's a fucking water flume ride.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so you have the very fun infiltration scene, and then it leads to another scene that I absolutely adore, which is when Lupin gets into the tower where Clarice is being held captive, and it's just this really cute, really heartwarming scene of him trying to, like, reassure her, because she's unsurprisingly very distraught about being captive and being forced to marry this old creep. And there's the scene where he's doing magic tricks to cheer her up, and it's really cute. It's a really good scene.
It's really charming, and the visuals are absolutely stunning. Like, you see him come in through, like, a panel in the roof. It's like a skylight, and he, like, lowers down.
Steps out of the shadows.
The lighting is absolutely stunning, because there's just, like, a beam of light coming from the ceiling.
I can see people reading the dynamic between Lupin and Clarice as romantic, and she certainly seems to feel that way, but I much prefer the read that he cares about her in more like an uncle would for his niece. Like, I don't think it's a reciprocated romantic thing, but he definitely does care about her very much.
And that gets touched on later.
Yeah. And it just makes for a really, really touching scene.
100%. I love that scene, and that was specifically the moment where I was like, oh, I love this character. I love Lupin. What an endearing little scoundrel.
And then the Count shows up and sends him down a trapdoor.
Oh, this is where we see all of the assassins in morph suits again.
Oh, yeah. They sneak out from behind the pillars and such.
They're like crawling into what would you call that? It's kind of like a dungeon, but also it's like a little like a septic system, it seems like.
Catacombs.
Yeah, I guess catacombs would be the right word, because there's a bunch of corpses. There's also a great scene where we get to see Lupin being like, okay, time to go to bed, good night, and just curling up against a bunch of skeletons.
Yeah,
I loved that scene.
Because earlier in the movie, Zenigata fell down into the catacombs in a different trapdoor situation. There's a lot of trapdoors in this place. And when Lupin falls down in the catacombs, he eventually meets Zenigata. They form a short truce to get themselves out. It's filled with the skeletons and corpses of bodies of people that have come to investigate the counterfeit business in this castle over the decades. There's a shot of like a Japanese World War II soldier, his skeleton, and next to the skeleton he like scribbled a message of like, this is who I was. I feel like that would have been a much more impactful scene had I been Japanese and knew about Japan's involvement in World War II. I think that was maybe a little lost on me culturally.
I didn't even pick up on that. I just read, a bunch of corpses, and kinda didn't pay too much attention to them. Bunch of skeletons.
Now, initially, the Count is like, okay, he's down in the catacombs, he's gonna die eventually, whatever. Turns out, Lupin still has the ring. Count needs the ring for his evil plan, so he sends a bunch of his assassin Power Rangers mooks to go and kill him. But because of that, Lupin and Zenigata are able to find their way out of the catacombs by following the assassins out after they outsmart them.
I think he had taken a ring from Lupin, but it was a fake one. And he starts talking through it, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's another just really good scene of showing what a fucking scoundrel scamp Lupin is, because he's like, I have the ring now, and the ring pops open and shows as a little walkie-talkie, and Lupin's just like, haha, gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Lupin is the king of gotcha, bitch moments. So Lupin and Zenigata are able to escape the catacombs. Zenigata wants to collect evidence about the counterfeit thing, but first they gotta go and try rescuing Clarice again. They hijack the Count's autogyro silly fucking helicopter thing, attempt to save her, fail because they get shot down. Lupin is horribly injured. Zenigata, I think he makes it back to Interpol, but Interpol is like, you can't move forward on this investigation because it's a sovereign nation, it's too political, some very kind of out of nowhere but very well done political commentary there as Zenigata's trying to do the right thing, and all the UN politicians are like, but what if you didn't?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that as like political commentary, but 100% that's what that is.
It's a very minor thing, but it's appreciated.
I do also have a note note here about how that's the first time we see blood when Lupin is injured. Because I was thinking this was a very, like, lighthearted, silly show. And then when that happened, it was like, oh, this show isn't fucking around. Okay.
Yeah, no, he straight up gets shot.
Yeah.
By, like, a fucking mounted machine gun.
There's a lot of missed shots before, though. One thing I kept noticing throughout the film is that you keep seeing the Soviet flag because this came out before the Soviet Union fell.
Oh, yeah.
And every time I saw that, I just thought, oh my god, I forgot how old this was.
Yep. What did we say it was? Like 1981 or something? Yeah, 1979.
I think that's the year that Black Christmas came out.
I keep forgetting that you're, like, really into horror movies.
It's the first slasher.
Oh.
Canadian. Mm-hmm. I'm just really into horror. So a lot of my understanding of, like, film history.
Your 3 character traits: weed, horror, Canada.
I don't think Canada's a character trait. My other character trait is loving women.
It's a good trait.
Yeah. That was my entire personality in high school.
So yeah, Lupin gets injured. He has to get nursed back to health by Jigen and Goemon and the old man that they met earlier in the movie that I think we forgot to mention.
Yeah, so they met him earlier when they were first scoping out the area because they went to visit what they thought was the castle, but it was like abandoned ruins.
Yeah, it was like the prince's house, which had burned down a few years ago, I think.
Yeah, that was before we knew that Clarice was the princess as well. So that was what happened to her parents. They were lost in this house fire that happened in this other castle.
Which I don't think it's ever actually stated, but we're almost certainly supposed to think that the Count killed them.
Oh, I didn't think of that. But yeah, no, that makes sense.
It might have been unrelated, but it would make sense for him to be like, time to kill your parents.
So Jigen and Lupin had met the old man who I guess was like a groundskeeper there. And he talks about how like the property still belongs to them, but nobody lives there.
And then when Lupin is recovering from being shot, that's when we get the backstory that when he had just started being a thief, he tried investigating the whole counterfeit bill thing before and very nearly died in the process. But that's also when he met Clarice when she was a child.
Yes. And the way that we find out about this is Lupin looks over to the guy's dog and says, "Yo, Carl." Like he wakes up from being injured and just looks at the dog and says, "Yo, Carl."
Yeah.
And it took me so off guard. I was just like...
Yeah, because it was Clarice's dog when she was a little kid.
Yeah.
Because he tried to infiltrate the castle back when he was younger, almost got killed in the process. He's slowly dying in a bush or something, and little baby Clarice finds him and helps, like, I think she just gets him a glass of water.
Yeah!
But it's really cute.
He was just really dehydrated.
Just needed a sippy.
We've all been there.
But yeah, and then that's how Lupin knew Clarice beforehand, was he met her when he was a greenhorn.
So the reason that the old man was willing to house them and take care of Lupin is because the dog recognized Lupin and was worried about him. And the dog is usually very, like, ornery and, like, standoffish and, like, doesn't like people and growls at people.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew that Lupin was a good person.
Yeah, that was a really cute bit. I like that. Shortly after Lupin gets nursed back to health, Fujiko tips him off and helps him make a plan to infiltrate the castle again so they can stop the wedding before the Count manages to marry Clarice. He straight up, like, kidnaps an archbishop or something and disguises himself as the archbishop so he can infiltrate the wedding and save Clarice, which is really fun. They never show where the archbishop went. What did you do with the archbishop, Lupin? Where is he?
That's a good question that didn't occur to me.
You get a really wonderful scene where, in order to distract all of the guards, Lupin, like, rips open his bishop robes and he's decked out with fireworks inside of his cape and he just fills the room with fireworks to escape, which is a great scene.
It's so visually beautiful.
This is also where you get a really good scene of Fujiko with a machine gun. Love that. Wish it happened more in the actual show.
Sorry, could we stop for a sec to talk about the wedding itself? Because the wedding scene is fucking cool as shit.
Yeah. Give us the wedding scene deets.
Like, we see it and it's the most cult-looking wedding you've ever seen. Everyone is in fucking robes. There's candles and shit.
Yeah, the Count is decked out in some weird fucking armor and a cloak.
Yeah, and you see Clarice, who is present, but she's got this vacant look in her eye, and we learn that it's because she's been drugged enough that she's too sedated to speak.
Yeah.
We learn that as it goes on. But, oh my god, the visuals too, and it's the inside of this beautiful castle.
No, it's really gorgeous, yeah.
Absolutely stunning. And there's like the red carpets and whatnot.
There's also this great bit that's going on at the same time as the Clarice rescue, where even though Interpol has told Zenigata, hey, don't investigate the counterfeit bills anymore, he still really wants to investigate the counterfeit bills, and Fujiko actually contacts him with a plan where she poses as a TV reporter, and they set fire to the printing presses in the basement. Zenigata pretends to go down to just investigate the fire, while Fujiko follows with a news camera, and he's like, oh my goodness, there is counterfeit bills down here. This is an amazing discovery that I have stumbled upon. And you see the Interpol people, like the UN people, watching this live news broadcast, and they're just like, Zenigata, you're laying this on thick, man.
He's handing it
really
up.
Funny.
It's really good.
Yeah, so chase scene, we didn't really cover it, but there was this, like, riddle involved where the Count wanted both of the rings, because, like, there was Clarice's ring, and then there was another ring, and you put both of the rings together, you get a riddle, which leads to an ancient treasure, and that's the whole reason he wants the rings and to marry her, is to get the ancient treasure. Turns out what you gotta do is climb up this clock tower where there's a engraving of, what did we say it was, Capricorn? The fish goat?
Yeah, Capricorn.
Yeah, and you gotta put both of the rings in the eye sockets of the Capricorn, and then the treasure's gonna be revealed. And there's a fight scene on the clock tower, and also, like, during the chase, there's a fight scene in, like, the gears of the clock tower, which is a really good scene.
Oh my god, yes.
Reminded me of, have you ever seen The Great Mouse Detective?
I'm pretty sure I literally saw in an article somewhere someone talking about how The Great Mouse Detective was inspired by this movie.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw that comparison, because, yeah, it's very similar. It's really good, though.
I realized that we didn't mention that he had the ring or why he had the ring, and the fact that they are related and they're doing the good old European inbreeding of royals.
No, they're not related. They're two separate royal families that are just the Count's royal family has been serving the Clarice's royal family.
Wait, I thought they were like distantly related, and that's why they were both given the rings.
I think they maybe were at in the fucking Roman age or something, but
I don't think it was recent. Like it's worse that he's an old creep than that they're vaguely related, because they're described as like two houses of the same family.
The trunk of the family tree is so far back, I don't think incest is an issue anymore.
Yeah, no, but that's kind of like, it's another layer of flavor.
Also, I found this out in research. I don't know where else I was going to put it in, so I'll just say it here. According to Miyazaki, the Count is 100% homosexual, but there wasn't any reason to show it, so he didn't.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
So, yeah, big fight scene on the clock tower. Lupin is like, hey, I'll give you the ring if you spare Clarice's life. The Count goes and, puts the rings in the eye sockets, and then, in a very weirdly, I don't know how this fucking thing was supposed to be designed, but upon doing that, he does activate the mechanism that reveals the secret treasure, but he's also crushed by the arms of the clock. It's the noise that he makes when he is squished to death is actually upsetting. It is a very gruesome squish.
It's like a crunch.
It's a squishy crunch. It's like a wet Rice Krispie treat.
Oh my god, and this is like the most beautiful scene here.
Yeah, because Lupin and Clarice are able to escape, and then it turns out what the secret hidden treasure was a submerged ancient Roman city that was hiding under the lake this whole time, and by activating the mechanism, it drained the lake and revealed these beautiful Roman ruins. I think I wrote down in my notes, oh hey, Atlantis.
I also saw people talking about how the Atlantis Disney film was directly inspired by this as well.
God damn.
Yeah. But the water in the scene, like, it's some of the most beautifully animated water I've ever seen. So to think it's from, like, 1979 is absolutely mind-boggling.
It's really impressive, yeah.
It's got, like, a good level of opacity. Like, you can see through it, but also you recognize that it's water. I don't know how to...
The ripples are really well drawn.
Yeah, the ripples and, like, the way... There's a lot of, like, waterfalls because the water's draining.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so splendid to look at.
There's also that earlier scene where Lupin is first infiltrating the castle and he goes up through the plumbing, and there's a scene where, like, he's sticking his head out of the mouth of a gargoyle fountain, and the way that water is animated, super good.
Yeah, I forgot about that scene.
Which also, okay, I do want to go back and touch on that scene real quick because this is really important to me. Because Lupin, he swims through the sewer system, and at one point he's, like, going through the mechanisms of the plumbing, I guess, and it causes a windmill, I think, to, it causes this windmill to stutter for just, like, a split second. But Zenigata sees it. He asks one of the castle guards, like, hey, what is that thing connected to? And they're like, oh, it's just connected to the water supply. And you have this moment where Zenigata's just thinking, and he's like, oh shit, Lupin, and he just rushes to the fountain to go and inspect it. And I love that scene. That's one of those scenes that I'm talking about where it really well represents the character, because it really shows that when it doesn't come to catching Lupin, Zenigata is really fucking good at his job.
Yeah, he's just like, he's obsessed with this man.
He has really good deductive abilities.
It seems like, yeah, he's really deductive, but he's also got a really quick temper when it comes to Lupin. That's definitely the reading I get. Yeah, that scene, wow. And it's so tense, too, the scene. This is happening, I think, when he's going to infiltrate the castle the first time before he disguises himself as Zenigata. And I think this is also why Zenigata has left the castle, and he's able to get back in as disguised as Zenigata, now that I reflect on it.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of there's a lot of details that all are working together here.
It's really well put together. Mm-hmm. So, secret treasure revealed, cool, Roman ruins, Lupin and Jigen and Goemon go to leave on another adventure. Clarice is like, hey, take me with you, I can learn to be a thief. And Lupin very gently puts her down. It's like, no, you stay here, you don't want this life. But it's a really, I'm kind of making light of it, but it is a very touching moment. It's a really good end. And as much as I did say before, like, I don't see the read that the relationship between Lupin and Clarice is romantic, there is a very good moment where Clarice is trying to convince Zenigata not to go after him because he didn't steal anything this time. And it's a really good line from Zenigata where he's like, he stole something of tremendous importance. He stole your heart. That was a good moment.
It's really endearing. Yeah, and there's one moment there too where she goes to kiss Lupin, and Lupin just kind of takes a moment and then kisses her on the forehead because he doesn't want to kiss her, but he also doesn't want to hurt her. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very much an unrequited romance sort of situation where Clarice is in love with this older man because she's young, doesn't really understand the consequences of that kind of stuff yet, and he's just like, he knew her when she was a kid. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's weird for him. And also how old is he supposed to be, Lupin?
I don't know. I want to say, like, probably early 30s.
Yeah, because he's definitely not interested in her. He's just trying to let her down easy, so to speak.
He cares about her a lot, but not in that way.
Yes, precisely. Also, towards the end, we get to see Lupin's hair do the Ghibli thing. And I was like, oh my god, it did the thing!
Yeah, it does the little frizzy thing, like it does the little spikies when he's mad.
Yeah, I think it's when he's embarrassed, I think, in the context of it, because it's when he's talking to Clarice at the end. Mm-hmm. And she's really laying it on thick.
This movie is so pretty. It's so well animated. It's so endearing.
It's so charming. Yeah, and the colors throughout were really just... I think I was more focused on the art of this film than anything else.
Understandable. Now that's pretty much the movie, but now is one of my favorite segments, which I still haven't thought of a name for this segment, but I will eventually, where we go back and we look at reviews from the time that this came out.
Oh, I have one. I have a name.
Oh?
Retroview.
Oh, fuck you, that's good.
Yeah, it's a portmanteau.
Right. Hell yeah, time for the retro views. Our first one comes from Mark Savlov from the Austin Chronicle in 1992. Mark writes, unlike so many other recent examples of Japanese animation, Sea of C refrains from the Technicolor ultra-violence that helped make films like Golgo 13, Akira, and Vampire Hunter D such audience favorites, and instead focuses on broad, almost slapstick humor and chaos to keep viewers riveted. Sometimes it works, and unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't. Shots of the wolf, this is obviously from the Wolf dub, toppling off castle parapets and scaling sheer walls without benefit of the climb line are more annoying than they are humorous, but Sea of C is so ingratiatingly good-humored that it's hard to take it serious enough to complain. Sure, it's no great triumph of movie making, but it is entertaining, and a more or less plausible way to kill 95 minutes on a Saturday afternoon. What?
I have so many questions about this interview. My first one is when was this review from? Because they're comparing it to Akira, which came out like almost a decade later.
Okay, so both of the reviews that I were able to pull were from American newspapers when it was first released in the West, and that didn't happen until 1992.
Oh, so they were both released in the West around the same time.
Yeah, well, the first dub was.
That makes sense, okay.
Also, you said interview and not review, which I found funny.
Oh, I said interview.
Yeah.
Also, the comment about it not being a statement in filmmaking when it was Miyazaki's first feature film, and then Ghibli happens.
It's a very, it is an overall positive review, but some of the wording is very strange. Like, what do you mean it's a plausible way to kill 95 minutes? What does that mean?
There's nothing else There's nothing else to do in the 90s.
What do you mean it is ingratiatingly good-humored? You have a strange way with words, Mark.
I feel like Mark had a thesaurus that he was going through as he was writing. I'm sorry, Mark, if you're listening.
Sorry, Mark. We're not trying to be mean. You just write silly.
I like it. I like it's very, purple prose, which is up my alley.
The second review that I have is from Janet Maslin, from The Times, also 1992. The Castle of Cagliostro, which opens today at the Cinema Village 3rd Avenue, is an interestingly wild hybrid of visual styles and cultural references. Among the latter are Bavarian-style castle in the Alps, a long-lost Roman city, and a meal of meatballs and spaghetti, which is treated as an exciting delicacy by the film's Japanese characters. The Castle of Cagliostro originated as a half-hour television series, so the script often favors action for action's sake. The animation is weak when it comes to fluid body movements, but outstanding in its attention to detail. Wedged in among the chases and fights that keep the story moving are many still-life glimpses of flowers, birds, and landscapes that are unusually intricate and precise. Two things. Weird focus on the spaghetti. That caught me off guard when I first read it. And then the other thing, the animation is weak when it comes to fluid body movements. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Did she watch the same roof running scene that we did?
I'll say this, 1992, what fucking Disney movies had come out by 1992?
This is right before The Lion King. Is this around when, what's it called? Beauty and the Beast came out, maybe?
Beauty and the Beast was 1991, so okay, I suppose... It's so strange to hear somebody say that even the earliest one, someone saying that a Hayao Miyazaki?
Miyazaki!
Someone saying that a Hayao Miyazaki film is crudely animated is such a wild thing to read.
I can't even think of what part of it would look not fluid.
It's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful movie.
All of the action scenes that I can think of where people are moving are like the roof running scene, which is gorgeous. The one where Lupin's swimming through the sewers, which is really well done also.
The initial assassination attempt and fight scene, that's really good.
Oh yeah. That's really fluid too.
Now, I will say, if there was any complaint to be put against this movie, I would say it's that the Count is about as generic bad guy as they come. He's not really an interesting villain. I think he's probably one of the weakest points of the film. Yeah. Clarice is also kind of bland, but she at least allows for some cute scenes between her and Lupin.
I think Clarice is allowed to be bland because she's a teenager, a young adult, she's allowed to have not developed personality too much yet, especially if she was a princess. The Count I think he's just supposed to be like the antagonist figure that you're not supposed to. It's very black and white, is I guess the way to look at it.
Yeah, he is the villain. There's probably a conversation to be had there about not only did Miyazaki take this very, like, morally dubious character in Lupin and make him very decidedly good. Like, even if he did still,
Heroic.
like, commit crimes, he is still very much he's a good, heroic guy in this movie. Taking that and then also giving him a very just blatantly, I am your bad guy for today. Miyazaki does, in the future, still lean into some very, like, black and white morality. It's not in all of his stuff. Like, it's not in, Actually, no, what the fuck am I saying? He doesn't do that at all. Like, fucking Princess Mononoke, Nausicaa, like, I just said a dumb fucking thing is what I said.
Spirited Away a little bit.
I don't know.
I don't know that they're super nuanced. I feel like surface level, a lot of them don't seem to have a lot going on. But I know that Studio Ponok, I remember seeing an interview with them about how they talked about how they write villain morality and how they specifically go out of their way to not write black and white conflicts because that's not what happens in real life. In real life, it's two people who have a conflict of interests between them, usually. So it's definitely something that was developed throughout the course of Ghibli that was then kind of grandfathered into Studio Ponok.
Yeah.
Ponok. Keep wanting to call it Studio Ponyo.
Yeah, and thinking about it, it really does make The Count even more of an outlier in terms of, like, villain characterization for Miyazaki. It's very strange.
But he's gay. That's the one thing we know about him.
Character traits. Is gay, will kill a child. He's just Scar from The Lion King.
I kind of love him with the revelation that he's gay and not actually interested in Clarice. That makes him a lot more empathetic to me.
Gay icon.
Gay icon.
Count of Cagliostro. Now, something that we do need to touch on before we end is how to watch this movie. Because as we said at the beginning, we watched the sub version because that's all we could access. You can find the dub on streaming, but everywhere that is available for streaming that I could find, it is either, like, for rent or for buy. Like, you gotta pay to watch it. Amazon,
it's a pay-per-view.
YouTube, yeah, all of those. So the only thing that we could find for free was the sub version. The other thing is that every streaming service that has this movie up in its dub form, it has the Streamline dub, it has the Wolf dub, which the Wolf dub is good. You've got Bob Bergen as Lupin, and he does a pretty good job, but the manga entertainment dub with David Hayter as Lupin, Snake from Metal Gear Solid.
Oh!
The manga entertainment dub is considered by most people, myself included, to be superior, mostly thanks to the script. The script is a lot better written, and a lot of the performances are a lot more fun. You can't find that on streaming anywhere, and it was pretty much impossible to find on the Yo-Ho-Ho. That being said, we did mention earlier that Discotek Media has been releasing the Lupin series over time. They have Castle of Cagliostro on Blu-ray with all 3 versions. It's got the Japanese dub, it's got the manga dub, and it has the Streamline dub.
Oh!
And it is currently in print. So you can easily access the superior version of this film.
I wish I had a Blu-ray player. Because this is what I would genuinely add to my collection. I liked it that much.
And of course, because it's on Blu-ray, it's beautiful. Good visual quality.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a 4th version, because they did an edited version of the manga entertainment dub that also edits out the profanity. So it's the better dub, but without cursing, if that's what you want.
No, that's worse.
Now, normally this is the part of the show where we ask the question, would you recommend this to someone today? I don't think we have to go through that part. I think it's pretty clear we both consider this to be a fantastic film.
What did Mark say about passing a Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, it's a good way to kill 95 minutes on a Saturday.
Yeah, and we're recording on a Saturday, so...
I think it is worth pointing out that despite the fact I gave that whole overview of the Lupin franchise at the beginning, you can completely go into this movie with zero knowledge of Lupin III. There's a reason why people say that this is a good introductory piece. I was just doing that as an excuse to talk about the Lupin franchise in general, just kind of tack it on to this episode talking about Cagliostro. But if this is the first thing, your first introduction to Lupin, you are totally fine. You're not going to miss anything by not having seen the show.
I was actually speaking with a friend of mine who likes Lupin III, and they also said that, like, this is typically the thing that people would recommend as, like, the foray into Lupin III. But the other stuff is pretty good, too. I can't... This is an anecdote from someone else. I can't recommend it, but I'm definitely going to check out more Lupin stuff for sure, because I loved this, and I know the rest of it isn't going to be like this, but I like when things are gritty a little bit.
At the very least, I want you to watch episode 1 of the second series, if only because I need to see your reaction to the dentist snake. And I'm not going to explain any further what I mean by the dentist snake.
Oh my god, there's a snake who's a dentist. Good for them. For the viewers who are unaware, I have 2 pet ball pythons. I love snakes.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I thought that's why you wanted to tell me.
No, it's just a really weird scene and I want to see your reaction to it.
Oh, yeah, we have 2 ball pythons. Their names are Yog-Sothoth and Sadako.
Thank you for that information. Thank you
You're
for brightening
welcome.
my day with that. But yeah, that was Castle of Cagliostro. That's another episode of the Weeb Years done with. You can follow us at Weeb Years on Blue Sky and Twitter, If you want to send in like a listener question or give comments, feedback, whatever, you can also get a hold of us, theweebyears@gmail.com.
I mean, people are free to send in any requests of stuff they want covered as well, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, if you've got something that you really want to see, that's a good way to let us know what to make new episodes on.
Yeah, if stuff is really popular and we're getting a lot of requests, we can always push stuff up further.
If you want us to watch your weird little 3-episode OVA from 1982 that no one else has heard of, just make a bunch of dummy Gmail accounts and spam us.
Can you imagine?
I'm sure at least one person.
God, we'll know we've made it when we get someone making dummy Gmail accounts.
That's our real sign of success. But yeah, thank you, everyone who listens, and we will see you next week. No, we won't. We will see you in 2 weeks, because that's how often we upload.
Do you want me to just do, well, because you
Do
fucked it up?
I want you to what?
Oh, no, it's good. It's
No,
good. I was just sure
actually,
you
I
were
think
keeping that
I
in.
think that was pretty funny. I want to keep that in.
Okay.
You can just go ahead and give the goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.